Hello, this is Ivana.
This is Yaw.
And you're listening to the podcast Life in Black and White.
And all the shades in between.
We share all things life, relationships, marriage, parenting, race, and much more. If you enjoy listening to us, then please follow or subscribe to this podcast. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook under Life in Black and White.
Oh my God, and here comes our child. Remember when we were younger, right? And you wanted to kind of just get involved in things, but all it took was the look from mum and dad or whomever and stuff to just go, and you're like, yeah, this ain't the time. They don't get that. They don't get that and stuff yet. Give it time though. Yeah. Anyway, this is recording. Hey, how's it going?
Don't worry, it's going to be edited. I will.
Every time. It's like a thing, right? Okay. That's got to be a continuous thing through all the podcasts now. I will never do it.
It's just fascinating how everyone assumes you do all the tech stuff automatically as a man.
Wow. That's just another show though, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm gonna pay attention to that one as well, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't forget you're opening this one because you promised twice.
Right, what do I have to say again? This is how we did it last time. Welcome. I appreciate everybody who's decided to join us today. We are with Adeyemi, or as we know him as Yemi, Mr. Oke and things. He's an author. He's mentored and stuff in schools and, coached and stuff in schools. And he's done a variety of things. I should have probably done this a lot better and stuff, so it flows a lot easier.
Absolutely.
But this man is a man of many talents, and we're so appreciative that you've given your time to spend with us and just give your views on. Please let us know what you would like to give your views on.
Thank you both for having me. I'm delighted to come on your podcast today. And just want to talk about my book and all the themes around it, and obviously just get into open dialogue with you both. I had a lot of fun pre-recording talking to you both. I'm sure it's going to be a very interesting conversation.
Thank you. Before we get to it, Yao, you forgot to mention me. I'm here as well.
There's no need to mention you because you're part of the woodwork. You produce this, you edit this, you do a lot of stuff. This doesn't happen without you, my baby.
You just have to show up, right?
Exactly. Sharp and smart.
But well done, Angel. It's your first opening, and you did it very well.
Thanks.
I have to say.
Yeah, we'll give him a 7. There's always room for improvement.
I would have even given myself a 5, to be honest. But let's start. We start from somewhere, right?
So welcome, Yemi, again. Let's talk about your book. I don't mean to sound racist, but that's the title of the book. If that wasn't clear to our listeners, and I love the title. I just got it. What it's about, just from the title. So if we can talk about what motivated you to write this book, although I can imagine, and what's the story behind the book?
Yeah, sure. So it was, it started obviously I guess when I first experienced racism, but I think when I started to think about concepts in the book, that was around 2016, 2017. And I found myself in lots of conversations, whether it was with friends, colleagues, and even sometimes online, just talking about various racist incidents that had either happened to us or that we'd seen on TV or whatever. And then in 2017, there was a pivotal moment in the Premier League where Raheem Sterling, at that time, he was playing for Manchester City. And he was racially abused, ironically, at Chelsea, where he plays for now. And normally when black players in the Premier League are racially abused, it's sort of in the news for a week or so. But Raheem Sterling made sure that he didn't let this one die out. So he was constantly talking about it. And then he would because he got a massive following on social, he would sort of post about how the media portrays black players in comparison to white players. And then again, I just found myself talking online. But, you know, if you ever get into a conversation online, you don't want to kill the conversation with a massive paragraph of text. And like, I didn't really want to get into it. And I just like thought to myself, okay, cool. I'm going to, I want to give my opinion on like my experience of racism in Britain. I want like a long form piece of content. So nothing I say is taken out of context. And then as I started to concept the book, I realized, you know, I don't actually want it to be just about me. So I reached out to my network of black people, whether it be friends, family, professionally, and then also like conducted some focus groups. And from there, like the questions I asked in those sessions, they helped to form the chapters of the book. And then, so yeah, using like other people's experiences as well as like doing research as well, just, yeah, put it all together into like a really like long form piece of writing. Yeah, that's how it really got started.
To be honest, it's amazing when anybody finds a passion and finds the time to write a book about anything, you know, finding the focus and being able to kind of propel something, you know, having something here and then, you know, continuously kind of, because sometimes you got the good times and the bad times and you're like, but it's something that obviously is quite close to your heart and things, right?
Yeah.
That's important because no good book can, you know, be creative when it doesn't come from the heart.
And it's a really good point as well, because a lot of people have said the same thing in that they were like, you know, loads of us have had ideas of writing a book or we've started to write a book, but we've never actually finished it. And yeah, it was like a passion project to get me going. And then I would also say that COVID helped a lot in terms of like just being locked down, nothing to do. So I was like, right, I'm actually really going to get into it and write it.
So tell us what the book is about.
Yeah.
And what's the story behind the actual title?
So yeah, I can't take all or any of the credit for the title. Actually, I've got a really like close friend of mine is a copywriter, amazing copywriter. And when I was talking to him about the book, I mentioned to him the book by Rennie Eno Lodge, and she wrote a book called Why I Don't Talk to White People About Race. And at the end of the book, she goes into the title. She said, when she briefed like the publishing company that were talking about her book, it was like she wants a title that stands out and is really snappy, a title that makes people look at it and immediately think, wow, like I need to read what that book is. And that was, I don't know if you've seen like the book. It's just really apparent of what it says. So that's the sort of brief that I gave to my friend Ricky. And I said like, yeah, you know, this is what the book is about. Like, what can you do for me? And he gave me a number of options. And then, yeah, we just sort of came together on like, I don't mean to sound racist, but, and I was like, that's such an amazing title because if you haven't said it, you've definitely heard it. And when I remember when I sort of like launched the whole marketing, like the ads and stuff on across social, like so many people like reached out to me. Even like my boss at the time, she was like, yeah, around her dinner table, they like her husband and son spoke about it because they were like, you know, we didn't realize how many times we'd actually said that to people. And yeah, just like hearing it, even like, you know, to this day, you know, I haven't heard it recently, but you know, I don't know how like when you hear it, I always like brace myself because I don't know what's coming next. You know, and it's just like one of those things that like, wow, like, you know, it takes
something
back,
great
doesn't it?
comes after, always.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know what? I used to say it a lot in the past. And I don't mean to sound, but I used to say, I'm not racist, but, and now I just laugh looking back. Oh my God, that was so racist. But why do you think that is? Why do people say it?
Yeah.
Because they want to justify their racism or,
it's one of those frames, isn't it? It's like, yeah, I want to let you know what I'm thinking, but I just need
to don't judge me.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not racist, but I need to tell you what's on my mind. Yeah, but it's just it's one of those phrases which I think is, you know, it's gone unopposed for so long that people have said it, and and now we're sort of saying, actually, even if you say
But you,
mine, it's still
Yeah.
kind of racist, right?
but you know what? I think in many cases people really think that they're not being racist,
Mm,
and that's the sad bit. Like me,
yeah.
if you listen to the episode we recorded a few weeks ago on unconscious bias,
Mm,
as I share that's where I share a lot about this, that I was convinced I wasn't racist, that I didn't have any prejudice, any bias. And it was only after I married Yaw I realized how biased I actually was. So in many cases, I used to say this really believing I wasn't racist. Yeah. So maybe this is the case for other people as well.
yeah.
And it just shows how these unconscious bias work, how unaware people are about these things. So
Exactly, exactly. And that was a really interesting episode as well. And yeah, like, and I really appreciate your, like, both your honesty in that episode. And I think one thing, like, with unconscious bias is, you know, like, think about it. I don't want to give away your two's ages right now, but I'm plus 30. So you think about, I've got 30 years of what I have learned, and whether that's good or bad, like, in the bad
mm,
things, you've now got to unlearn all of those 30 years. So I think it's a really good point you made around, like, now that we're aware of our unconscious bias, that is the first step, like,
yeah.
understanding that it's there, because obviously, like, it's just a natural thing. So even though you're still going to you'll still have that unconscious bias, but to be able to check yourself and be like, actually, you know what, that isn't okay. That that's the real
Exactly.
important step. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And your book is one of the steps, towards
Mm.
that goal as well. So let's talk about the book now. So that's the title covered. Let's talk about the actual book. Yeah, what it's about.
Hmm. Yeah. So we get into it in the, really, like, the first page is, or one of the questions I asked the, participants in the focus group is around, like, why do we think racism still exists? And consistently with all the answers, they were saying, like, the things we're taught in school, and a lot of, I guess, like, Black British history has been left off the curriculum. It's only now we're talking about, like, how we can integrate it. And you really do, when you, like, really deep it, it's like, we learn about, obviously, like, Henry VIII and everything going on there, World War One, World War Two. And within all of these stories, back in, like, Britain, Black people were everywhere, especially in London. Like, there were Black people everywhere. But when we think about World War One, you never saw a person of color in the books. You never see a person of color in the films or the TV programs, even that are made
Mm,
now. And you just got to think, why have they left Black people out of the story? And,
mhm,
that's something that really sort of gets to me, because I think that if we were in that story, because back in the day, like, I mean, we still hear it now. It's like, get out of my country. Our grandfathers fought for this country. And, when people say that, we can't really say anything. But if we knew that Black people were there, you could be like, well, my people
It
fought
does.
for, do you know what I mean? We fought for this
Yeah.
country as well, kind of thing. And it's just things like that, which I think is, like, super interesting, and, really trying to get to the bottom of why, Black people have been written out of history, of British history. And yeah, I really, like, done a lot of research into, like, British history, and been able to uncover loads of, like, Black Britons who have contributed to society. And that's what made me then start to, create all of this content online, and sort of put it out, just really, like, celebrating all of our achievements. And that's what, like, got me into schools, basically, to do these talks, because, I really wanted to help, like, educate the children of all races that, we're doing all these amazing things, and, just open up their eyes to that. So yeah, that was, a really, like, important, chapter in the book. And then the next chapters really sort of went into, obviously talk about loads of stuff, but the next chapter we sort of spoke about, like, experiences of racism, our earliest experiences of racism.
Yeah.
And, mine was mine was wild, man. Mine was so crazy because I grew up in a place called Carshalton, which was, you know, heavily white people there.
Yeah.
But you know, when you're a kid, you don't really know these things. Obviously, your parents say certain things to you which stick in your mind, but like kid, you know, you don't really care. So we went to Cub camp with because one of my best friends at school, like he was part of the Cubs. He was like, "Yeah, come through." I was like, "Amazing, I'm down." And this was the first weekend I'd ever spent away from home. And so yeah, I was there with like all my mates staying in the tent. Had an amazing weekend. It was the best weekend ever. And then at the end of the weekend, we was all packing away to go home. Put away these huge tents, and one of the Cubs was like, "Yeah, I want to take a photo of all the Cubs that are here." And we all lined up in like perfect symmetry. Everybody very excited. And I just remember there was the cameraman, and then the boys whose camera it was stood next to him, and then another dude, and they were all just like, they were talking in a huddle, and they were taking ages to take the photo, and all the rest of us just like, what's going on? And then all of a sudden, one of the dudes just started walking towards like all of the rest of the Cubs, and he was walking in my direction, and literally the where we was all like bunched up, like everybody just parted, and he walked straight up to me, and he was like, yeah, the guys whose camera it was doesn't want to take the photo because his parents don't like black people, and you're in it. And that was when I remembered, I looked around, and I was literally the only black person out of all of those Cubs. And that was the trade. Even now when I think about it, man, that's like the worst thing that happened. And like fortunately I had like some really good people around me who you know, they were like, well, if you don't want him to be in it, we're not going to be in it. And we walked off together. Yeah. So it just shows like the compassion of like young kids as well at the same time. So yeah, it was sad, but you know, they obviously helped me out, which was wild.
Jesus, I can't even imagine how it feels. But how does it feel? How did it feel to, you know, hear something like that? If that's even possible to explain.
Yeah, it was shock is when I think about it now, yeah, just shock of that. And then also, yeah, the feeling of, wow, somebody doesn't like me because of the color of my skin. And then also thinking like that guy's parents came up from Cubs and they see me every week. And, you know, what are they thinking when they see me? And yeah, just that kind of stuff, which was crazy. But yeah, I remember like got home, told my mum, and she was like, well, yeah, we're not doing that. We're not going to Cubs anymore. And even like the Cubs leaders, like they obviously weren't trained or prepared for that stuff. They didn't know what to do.
But even in that situation, whether you're trained or not to do, there's a right and wrong in that situation, right? And from their perspective, their whole thing is about protecting the children that are in their care. So their immediate response, it shouldn't have really kind of been left just down to your mates and your close people to kind of protect you, which it's brilliant and it's amazing that they did, because you feel like you've got that connection, you know what, you've always got my back type thing. It's great to have that. But those leaders should have also been there to have just said, this ends straight. You take your thing, we'll do this as a separate thing. If you want this picture, fine. If you don't want this, you deal with it, right? So leaving you in that position where you felt vulnerable.
I have to step in here, but I have to say, as a white person now, you know these things. You know how it how it must have felt. You can relate. But if someone has no idea, never experienced anything like that, they don't know how to act, how to help.
Because there's a difference between not quite knowing what to do and you're feeling a bit awkward and stuff in that situation and saying, oh, I'm really sorry and blah blah blah, but not coming to the defense of someone who
of course, absolutely, yeah. It's just I'm not
there,
saying that it was right. I'm just saying that they might have been in shock themselves just from a different.
I'm not saying that, but can I ask you a question off the back of that then, Yemi? Did they ever try to kind of have that conversation with you to one side and say to you, look, I'm really sorry for that experience and things. I hope everything's okay. I don't know why that's kind of happened. Was that conversation?
Not that I can remember. All I remember from that moment was like, me and my friends, because one of my friends, his dad was a Cubs leader. So we went to him specifically. And I kind of remember, he was like, but he didn't really know what to say. And I think he must have said like, I'm really sorry about this. I'll tell the other leaders kind of thing. But I just remember nothing happened after that.
Yeah.
You know, and we obviously left the Cubs anyway. But I just remember there wasn't any kind of dialogue because, that was in the early 90s.
Yeah.
So it was not how it is now. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So. But that's awful. That is absolutely awful. There's no excuse.
No, but I think it just obviously it was a different time back then, and where people were like really comfortable. Like that's like how can a little kid like that know that they can't take a photo with it because of what their parents would say? The amount. If you think about that, what is being said in that house for the kid to know that, that's that's kind of scary.
It's a lot, isn't it?
Mm. And I'm just thinking about your mom because that is one of the hardest things for me as a mom because this is all new for me still. So experiencing things like that I would be in pieces for forever probably if someone said something like that to my child.
Yeah.
We haven't had anything like that yet, thank God. But I know it will come, and I'm dreading that already. So,
but they've had a couple of little things, haven't they?
Little things, but they didn't really get it at the time.
No.
So,
but I suppose, sorry, we've said this. One of our kind of duties as parents and stuff is to kind of instill in them the confidence and the knowledge that in these cases, these things may happen. I'm not saying it will happen, but it's more than likely going to happen at some point in your life. And you need to be strong enough to kind of turn around and just say, like, in the nicest possible way, do one, right? Because some things hurt, some things stay with you. Even I could tell when you were just mentioning the shock of it still there, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But there's ways that you could have gone. You could have turned around and that could have been the life experience that absolutely changed your way that you looked at maybe white people or people of certain race or anybody and decided, you know what, my trust and stuff, I'm not going to do that, right?
Yeah.
But you haven't done that at all. You realize that you had people and stuff around you who weren't that and actually were ready to step up and to protect you, even though they were young and stuff themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
We can't put everybody in the same kind of generalistic kind of mix and things, but it takes a lot to go through these things and continue going through these things and still have a positive outlook towards anything. Because you could just be bitter, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I wouldn't blame you at all. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly that. I think, going through that experience with like knowing that there were people there that helped me, it's definitely really good thing. Yeah. Like even, as I mentioned, to think back, like a kid that young could have that kind of compassion to sort of do that, at the expense, they may fall out with everybody else kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think, that's amazing. And that's obviously testament to his parents as well.
Yeah. What was your worst experience? If you're happy to go there, or one of the worst ones?
I'm not sure. The worst one I can't say on here. It's too much, but I've had occasions and where I was kind of brought up, where I grew up from like 12 and till I left to go uni and so forth. We don't remember uni, do we? Because there was, yeah, that's
yeah. We'll save those stories for after the podcast.
When I'm not here, please.
Yeah. Well, when I was a complete angel, and I was just like, yeah.
We met in the library.
Thank you. Exactly. How is the library these days?
The coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I grew up with some amazing people around me. I made some amazing friends, and these are people and stuff that if I was in a situation and I needed to call, I could call and things, right? And they would be there and stuff for me. Certain people in particular and things, and they're from way back when I'm talking about 12. And obviously it probably looks like it's 10 years ago, but I'm a bit more aged and stuff. Why are you laughing?
And what area did you grow up in as well?
Barking.
Okay. Yeah.
So you had Barking and Dagenham and things, and it was predominantly white. It was. But I had great times and stuff. You didn't realize until that person made it kind of clear that, that person kind of ostracized you in that situation. And to be honest, where I was, the people and stuff around me, we were just mates. We would do things and stuff together. We play football together. We played basketball together. We played cricket together. We all were fairly good at most sports and stuff that we did. So we were, to a certain extent, like a band of brothers and stuff, right? But when you mentioned the name of your book, that resonates because there's always the little joke here and the little joke there. Don't worry, it gave as good as gotten thing.
Yeah.
You had to learn to do that, right? But it could be there and stuff as well. So it's part of the growing up in that kind of environment and things. To some extent, it makes you a lot more resilient, a lot more tougher than what you would have been. Our parents probably went through so much more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what we went through compared to what they went through is it's another level.
And that's another thing I touch on in the book as well. Just when I talk about experiences of racism in the workplace, because I talk about my mum, especially. My mum still to this day has the thickest Nigerian accent you'll ever hear in your life, right? Yeah. And if you think about today, going back to that point we spoke about with unconscious bias, when you are, if you're your gas, phone or whatever messes up, you call up and you go to a call center and you've got somebody who doesn't sound English, right? You think to yourself, oh man, this person's not gonna understand what I'm saying. That sort of thought goes through your head. And what's it now? 2024. My mum came over, I think in the 60s maybe, or the 50s. And she's trying to get a job as a chef with a heavy Nigerian accent. And I'm just thinking to myself, wow, how did both of it, my dad's I guess he assimilated earlier. So if you hear him speak, I think that's where he sort of drummed into us, you need to do this in order to make it in the UK kind of thing. But yeah, my mum, she just kept it real the whole way through, and I rate her for that. But yeah, that kind of, she sort of talked about her experiences as well, in that she is an amazing chef, and her qualifications when she was going for jobs back then, she had better qualifications than the head chefs. And she even spoke about what's so funny as well. She was she would make a dish, the head chef would make a dish, and the manager would taste it. And obviously everybody really liked her dish, and they would be what's the difference? And she was to be honest, I'm just using seasoning. And I was just that is so funny, even back in those days. But she was saying that even though certain places she would apply for, the manager would say, you are qualified to do this job. However, we're going with candidate A kind of thing. And, all of the time candidate A was white, but less qualified. So my mum would then have to become the second or third chef, or the preparation chef kind of thing. It wasn't until she got more experience, then she was able to be head chef in certain places. But yeah, it was, back in those days, I don't think it's easy now, but it's definitely better. We're having better experiences. But yeah, you really gotta respect like our parents' generations and even
trailblazers.
Yeah.
Trailblazers.
You know, I
You know
think
what? Oh, sorry, go on.
no, I was just gonna say, you know, there is strength like moving to a new country and just, you know, just making it there, no matter what your race or ethnicity is. I think that is really brave.
One of the great things about your book is that despite these heavy subjects, or how should I put this, there is no bitterness there. It's more like you don't write it with anger or bitterness. It's more about hope and positivity, positive future.
Definitely.
And that's amazing, because I wouldn't blame you if you were bitter, angry, and I'm sure you are, but I love that you still, you know, see things in a positive way, or you try and to be hopeful for the future. And that's amazing. And that's so important, no?
Exactly. And I really, that was like intentional, because I think that what I found, like when the whole George Floyd thing happened, you know, immediately you was put on a side like us versus them. And no matter how you try to write in a neutral way, in the, you know, this has happened, however, we can still have a dialogue, you were still put on a side. So when I wrote that book, I just wanted to really make it clear that although all of these bad things are happening, we're not going to be able to move forward unless, you know, we just listen and you know, listen to learn from each other. And you, at some points, you will be upset or angry or annoyed by like an ignorant statement, but that ignorance just comes from, well, part of the ignorance, let me frame that, comes from like not being educated around the subject. So it's it really is. And I know like some Black people disagree with what I'm saying, but I feel it really is a part of like helping people on that journey, because if we're not there to sort of help them on that journey to, I guess, educate themselves around like different cultures and ethnicity, especially in London, in this melting pot, then we're always going to be like at each other's throats. So yeah, I'm glad.
When it's us versus them, it's basically trying to stop racism with more racism, no?
So yes, it's trying to stop racism
with
fighting, you know, with aggression, and which it hasn't worked so far, has it? So it's trying to do something different, and
Okay, now let's. I would like to talk about casual racism that you mentioned in the book. So let's talk about that for a bit.
Yeah, and I think we sort of touched on it earlier when Yao was talking about his earlier experiences. Because when you grow up in a predominantly white area and you sort of, you know, you just hear things and you know, you just got to sort of swallow it. And I think it all starts like, well, no, it all starts like some of the things you've seen on like TV, you know, that's how it all kind of gets into the membrane. And then from there, you know, people are sort of mimicking those kind of things in school, and you know, everybody's laughing, and you sort of there, the only Black guy, like, okay, like, let's just sort of like keep it moving in that. But I think it's a really important topic to tackle, because casual racism is still racism. Like even like these jokes, you know, and like, especially again, growing up in the 90s, it was a lot more, it wasn't acceptable is not the right word, but it was casual. I think, that's the right word, because, like in those days, racism wasn't really a thing like that.
Do you remember there's a couple of comedians, Jim Davidson, and he used to do this thing called Chalky.
Wow.
And it was just off. It was just off. I remember seeing him in a sitcom, and I really loved the sitcom, and it was funny. And then I saw his humor and stuff, and it really kind of put me off him. Right? And there was a guy called, is it Roy Chubby Brown or Chubby whatever? And his jokes, you know, literally what you're saying there, where people hear these things and they hear it and as kids, these are the things that you're not supposed to hear, but you do hear. So, you know, you want to turn around and tell your mates and mention it and bring it up and stuff. And yeah, there was a lot of sometimes just kind of biting your tongue, but sometimes you just need to leave me alone.
That's a really like, and in the book, one of the talking points that I have a lot with like friends or whatever is where I kind of play devil's advocate in that when you're talking about comedians, they obviously say some absolutely wild stuff, even today, like whether it's like racist or sexist or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
But like they're comedians and that's their job. So they're sort of saying these things and people are laughing. We're all laughing about it. If you think about like, especially like Black American comedians, all of their jokes are centered around race.
Yeah.
So it's like, if these comedians can do it,
why can't
why, you know, and that's what I feel like white people are thinking. But my thing is like, if I'm saying a joke to like my Black friends about race, then yeah, of course I can say it to them kind of thing. But what I intentionally do is I do not say like a racist joke to like one of my boys in front of white people in it, because I don't want to give anybody an invitation to sort of think, that's all right kind of thing.
Let me step in.
Yeah. It's like
the pass.
The moment in the book I speak about is this was absolutely wild, right? This was maybe like 4 years ago, not that long ago, playing in a cup final with my boys. And again, it's predominantly white. I think there's like 2 or 3 like Black people on the team.
Yeah.
And we won a cup final. Yeah. And then we was like celebrating in the evening, and like 6 or 7 of us end up like around a mate's house, like just like carrying on the night kind of thing. And in that moment, I was the only Black person there. A couple of mates' girlfriends was there, whatever. And one of the dudes, now I don't know what kind of language you're allowed to use on the podcast. I won't go into it. Like, but he was like, Yemi, you know you're my N-word.
Oh,
like, what did you say, bro? And he was just like, he said it again. I was like, are you serious? Like, what? And then literally for an hour, because when he said it, right, 2 thoughts went into my mind, because that whole thing of when we were younger and people were casually racist, you're in a room with all white people, you sort of let it fly, right? Because you're young, had that inner strength. So I'm really glad when you both mentioned around like you're teaching your kids that inner strength, because no matter what situation they're in, they can speak up because they know it's not correct. So when I was younger, I didn't have that confidence to do that. But now I'm in my 20s, like you're not saying that stuff to me. So literally I didn't have it, because I knew in my mind, I was like, I could let this slide. And continue in the good vibes. But I was like, I'm not letting this slide. So I sort of like checked him about it, and for an hour, it just sort of, everybody got into the conversation. Some people like, in fact, a lot of people were telling him like, that's not right. But he was like, but one of my best friends is Black. And I said,
oh my God, that even makes my blood boil.
Exactly. You know, and that's the thing in that what people need to realize is that what is acceptable for his Black friend, that's not universal across all Black people. And that's what I was trying to get across to him. But, you know, it just didn't get across to him. And I think that's that's like any jokes, right? If I say a joke to you, it might be, you might be like, Yemi, like, that's way too comfortable. You don't really know me like that. But that's I say to my brother, do you know what I mean? You just got to have those social cues in the, can't really be speaking to people like the same.
Exactly. No, I get you. Do you know what? That reminded me, it reminded me of an occasion where some of us were in a party vibe and stuff, and a certain individual and stuff, once they started having drinks and things, their vocabulary just changed. Their whole kind of stance just changed. And I just remember that each time this individual I'm being very diplomatic and politically correct and stuff in what I'm saying, his stance just kind of altered and things. And I remember I got to the point where I'm pretty open and I give people opportunities and stuff. People see me as being quite friendly and things, but I'm always checking. I'm always checking how people are and stuff with me, with people and stuff that I have around me, you know, my friends, my family and stuff. But this individual always returned back to this stance. Once he drank quite, not loads, but quite a bit, he went into this kind of racial slurs and blah, blah, blah. And I just remembered how many times that people forgave that person because he was in that drunken haze and thing, right? And I'm no angel. You see me party and stuff from time to time and stuff, right? But there's a certain line, and I've heard from people, oh, but he's not like that and stuff now. He's totally changed. But to me, there was something really kind of underlying in the way that he was, that switch. If you switch once, maybe twice, and you think about, you know what, I need to kind of sort something out. There's something not quite right there. And like we said, you identify it, and then from that point on, you make conscious efforts to move on. Right. You've taken a positive step in your life. I in that instance, it's only not many people that I've cut off in my life, but this individual, I just, no time of the day will I even give you the opportunity to think that you
exactly.
So you know, again, sometimes it's part of resilience, sometimes I don't know, but
you know the crazy thing,
go on,
it happened to me twice with two different people back home. Two people, my friends, like, or people I know, they thought it would be very funny to tell me racist jokes towards Black people. Yeah. So explain that to me, like, what the hell?
Were you ready with
like, this
Yaw?
Is beyond...
Were you Yaw at the time when they were saying those jokes?
Sorry? Yeah, it's recent. Okay.
Wow.
You know, I have Black kids, I have Black husband, and they genuinely thought that I would find it funny. And that I don't get it. Because I used to tell jokes like that as well. I don't anymore because I understand now it's not funny. But why would someone think it's funny to tell me? I don't get it. Like,
it goes to what you were saying, Yemi, and stuff. They recognize the crowd. They recognize the, you know, that old kind of feeling of I'm in this environment and stuff. So
they think it's innocent. They think it's innocent, and that's the worst part.
It's
never is.
It's, you know, we're not perfect, and we're not supposed to be perfect. You know, that's human nature, that's life and stuff, right? But there comes a time and stuff when you absolutely do know when something's wrong and something, you know, right from wrong and things. And sometimes you do have to check yourself, because if you don't check yourself, you're going to get into a situation with the wrong person at some point and stuff, right? It's just, sometimes it's sad, but what you've done in terms of the book and how you're speaking to children and stuff in schools and things is such a positive thing. It's such a great reflection. It's great for communities and stuff. And I say communities, not our Black communities. It's all, you know, all communities. Once we kind of getting more of this stuff out there, people really understanding who we are to the core and stuff of who we are. We're not Black. You're Yemi, you're Ivanka, I'm Yaw, and you understand, you know what I heard from X actually isn't fucking correct. Let me just dial that down. Let me just kind of switch that. Life gets a bit easier. I'm not saying it's just going to stop, because there's a lot to it, right? There's a lot of people, there's a lot of things, but yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I start going.
You got carried away there. I like that.
It's emotional and stuff for me, because
it is.
If I heard my children, I was. Maybe I shouldn't say this on the podcast and stuff, just in case. But no, it's just something that we need to move forward. We're smart, small steps, I suppose.
I think as one is saying, like these like podcasts and like the books that are being released, you know, they're really important because the people, obviously they're not going to touch everybody and they're not going to inspire everybody. But my aim with the book was, and you know, it might be the same aim with your podcast, is just being able to get through to like people in your close network to make them start to think, and then they're able to sort of give that information to their network, and that's how it organically grows to then, you know, and that's how we
exactly
it's a long-term strategy. You know, I think that is, you know, we're obviously not going to solve it in our lifetime, but having that really influence on the network and that kind of
I don't know, bro. You don't know how focused I can be and stuff.
Well,
just give me a couple of. I've told everybody I'm retiring in a few years, so once I'm focused, I'll give it a year, and hopefully racism is done.
Yeah,
there'll be no humans soon.
Yeah,
in a few years, AI
don't go there.
Robots.
Don't go there. Yeah, well, if it goes racism on AI front, then we're done, right?
It's already there, though, isn't it?
Yes,
it's already there.
Oh, don't. Don't.
Part 2, yeah.
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
Skynet with a mission, right? Right.
Okay, Yemi, is there anything else you would like to say that we haven't mentioned yet?
The only thing I really want to hear from you both, just around the
move.
I guess now you're up in Scotland. You know, how is it up in Scotland compared to down south? Like, obviously, I've never been there, so I don't know what the landscape is like. Just seeing it on TV, got my assumptions, but yeah, really want to hear like your like personal experiences.
Go first, Yaw.
You want me to go first? All right. So with all the people that I know, absolutely wrong uns. I can't stand them. I'm joking. See, this is for all the people who are listening and haven't actually turned around and said that they're listening. But
yeah, well done.
No, seriously, we've kind of, I feel that we've lucked out. When we've come to a certain area. It's just outside Edinburgh. The kids love their school. We've got some really good people and stuff around us.
It's mostly white people, though, isn't it?
It is. It is.
But it's not an issue.
No, I haven't come across anything, and I'm not saying it for the sake of, you know, it's just nice to be, but thinking it's not. It really isn't. You know, I could, but saying that, I could live maybe a mile or 10 miles away, and it could be absolutely completely different and things. Right? It just really relates. But where we are and stuff now, I'm not worried about my kids. I'm not worried about Ivanka. If I go to work, I'm at peace. I'm not worried about anything. You know, we've had some really amazing people who've been so supportive and stuff of us since we moved up here. And it's quite a close knit kind of people that just look out for each other, which is brilliant, which is exactly what I wanted and things. Whereas, you know,
no, we haven't had a bad experience. I think it's more chilled.
Yeah.
In every way.
That's amazing.
Which is what we want. That's all I want for family and stuff, is a chilled lifestyle, not to have to worry. Okay, I'm hoping at worst the kids at one point come back and say I got into a fight and things. I'll be like, oh, okay.
Did you win?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Wait a minute. Did you win? That's the first thing. No, but you know, as long as you know that, and if I wasn't here, again, in that situation, if something happened and I was away from here, there are a few people that I could call here that would drop things to make sure that my family and stuff were okay.
That's cool.
So that's the level of, you know, we've lucked out. Definitely. Yeah. So
anything else?
When's Yemi coming up?
That's a very good question.
Thank you. That's what we need to kind of talk about and stuff.
We did speak about it. I think the last time we saw you, we spoke about coming up to for like the Oscars, talking about the Edinburgh Film Festival, like a comedy festival, but we haven't.
The Fringe Festival.
That was it,
yeah.
So Yaw. So that's all for today. And I think Yaw should do the final final words for today.
Okay.
Yaw.
It's been amazing having you on the show. It's been an honor as always. We've spoken about some things that have been quite touching, but so hopeful and so positive. And we really do appreciate you spending the time and stuff to kind of speak with us. We wish you all the success with the book and in all the other endeavors and stuff that's involved in how you promote this and go forward.
We will, of course, include all the links, to the book in the description.
Absolutely. So we're expecting sales.
I know Yaw was going to forget to say that as well, and he would have been marked down 5 out of 10. So yeah.
Don't worry. I do the links. Here we go.
I will add the link to the description when I'm editing.
Exactly.
Sorry, go on.
So we appreciate the links and stuff, and I hope you appreciate the sales boost and stuff on your end.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening. And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review, because it really, really helps to get this podcast discovered. Thank you so much, and see you in 2 weeks. Bye.